There is a version of World War II history where Italian aircraft are treated as a joke, where Italy enters the war with outdated planes, underpowered engines, and pilots flying machines that were already obsolete before the first shots were fired. It's an easy narrative, convenient, dismissive, and mostly wrong. Italy did not enter World War II without an air force. It entered the war with one of the largest air forces in Europe, a deep aviation tradition, and aircraft that had already proven themselves in combat during the 1930s. Italian engineers understood aerodynamics. Italian designers built fast, agile fighters and effective bombers. Italian pilots were experienced, disciplined, and aggressive. So, if Italian aircraft were not universally bad, why did Italian air power collapse? Before discussing fuel shortages, industrial limits, or strategic failures, there is a more basic question that has to be answered first. What aircraft did Italy actually fly? What machines were in the air when Italy committed itself to a global war it was not prepared to sustain? This is not a story about why Italy lost. This is not a comedy of errors. This is a complete visual catalog of the major Italian aircraft used in World War II, the fighters, bombers, and reconnaissance planes that defined Italian air power from the opening days of the war to its gradual exhaustion. 1. Fiat C.42 Falco, the last biplane fighter. The Fiat C.42 Falco was already controversial when the war began. A biplane fighter in an age of monoplanes, it looked outdated before it ever met the enemy. But appearances were deceptive. The C.42 was extremely maneuverable, robust, and reliable. In the hands of skilled pilots, it could outturn many early monoplane fighters. It performed well in low-speed dogfights and proved effective in secondary theaters such as North Africa and the Balkans. Its limitations were structural. Speed, climb, and firepower lagged behind modern fighters. Against well-flown Hurricanes or later Spitfires, the CR.42 was outclassed. Yet it remained in service because it was available, dependable, and familiar. The CR.42 represents Italy's transition problem, a capable aircraft from the past, carried forward into a future it wasn't built for. 2. Macchi C.200 Saetta, the first modern step. The Macchi C.200 Saetta marked Italy's move into modern fighter design. A monoplane with good handling characteristics, the C.200 was agile and sturdy. Pilots praised its control and survivability. It could compete with early Allied fighters on equal terms in maneuvering combat. Its weakness was power. The radial engine limited top speed, and early versions lacked sufficient armament. As the war progressed, these shortcomings became increasingly obvious. Still, the C.200 laid the groundwork for Italy's best fighters. It showed that Italian designers understood what modern air combat required, even if industry could not yet deliver everything needed. 3. Macchi C.202 Folgore, Italy's best fighter. The Macchi C.202 Folgore is widely regarded as Italy's finest fighter of the war. Powered by a license-built Daimler-Benz engine, the C.202 combined speed, climb, and handling in a well-balanced design. Allied pilots who encountered it often expressed respect for its performance. In direct combat, the C.202 could match Hurricanes and early Spitfires. It was fast, responsive, and capable at altitude. The aircraft's main limitation was armament. Early versions carried only machine guns, reducing lethality against heavy bombers. The Folgore was not a failed design. It was a successful fighter constrained by production scale, fuel shortages, and the widening industrial gap between Italy and its enemies. For Macchi C.205 Veltro, too late. The Macchi C.205 Veltro was the natural evolution of the C.202. With heavier armament and improved performance, it was one of the best Axis fighters of the later war period. In many respects, it finally gave Italian pilots a machine equal to the best Allied fighters. But it arrived when Italy no longer had the capacity to exploit it. Production numbers were low. Fuel was scarce. Pilot training was curtailed. Airfields were under constant attack. The Veltro was a war-winning aircraft in a war Italy had already lost. 5. Savoia-Marchetti SM.79, the symbol of Italian air power. No Italian aircraft is more iconic than the Savoia-Marchetti SM.79 Sparviero. Originally designed as a fast bomber, it became one of the most effective torpedo bombers of the war. SM.79 crews scored significant successes against Allied shipping in the Mediterranean, earning a reputation for skill and bravery. The aircraft was fast for its time and rugged enough to survive heavy fire. But as Allied air defenses improved, losses mounted. Torpedo attacks required precision, coordination, and courage, and Italy increasingly lacked the air superiority needed to protect them. The SM.79 worked. The environment around it did not. 6. Savoia-Marchetti SM.81, the workhorse bomber. The SM.81 was already aging when war broke out, but it remained in service due to necessity. Used as a bomber, transport, and support aircraft, it was slow and vulnerable but dependable. It filled gaps where newer aircraft were unavailable. The SM.81 did not define Italian air power. It sustained it when better options were lacking. 7. Cant Z.1007 Alcione, the modern bomber. The Cant Z.1007 was Italy's most modern medium bomber. Fast, sleek, and aerodynamically refined, it performed well when introduced. Its wooden construction reduced weight but created maintenance challenges in harsh climates. Operational success depended heavily on conditions and support. As Allied air superiority increased, survivability declined. The Z.1007 demonstrated Italian innovation, constrained by industrial reality. 8. Cant Z.506 Airone, the maritime eye. The Cant Z.506 was a floatplane used for reconnaissance, patrol, and air-sea rescue. Reliable and long-ranged, it played a vital but unglamorous role in maritime operations. It located convoys, guided attacks, and rescued downed airmen. It lacked speed and protection, making it vulnerable, but it remained in service because its role was indispensable. 9. Fiat G.50 Freccia, the early monoplane. The Fiat G.50 was Italy's first operational monoplane fighter. It suffered from limited range, modest speed, and a cramped cockpit. Yet it represented a major step forward in design philosophy. The G.50 served on multiple fronts and gave Italian pilots early experience with monoplane combat, experience that informed later, better designs. 10. The BR-20 Cicogna, the strategic attempt. The BR-20 Cicogna was Italy's attempt at a modern medium bomber capable of longer-range operations. Used in Europe and even over Britain, it struggled against strong defenses and was gradually withdrawn from frontline roles. It symbolized Italy's ambition to project air power beyond the Mediterranean, an ambition that outpaced capability. After 1943, fracture and exhaustion. After Italy's surrender in 1943, Italian aviation split. Some aircraft flew for the Axis under German control. Others served the Allied-aligned Italian forces. Many never flew again due to lack of fuel, parts, or pilots. By the war's end, Italian aircraft production had collapsed, not from lack of design talent, but from systemic failure. This was Italian air power in World War II. Not incompetent, not irrelevant, but constrained, fragmented, and outproduced. The aircraft were capable. The pilots were skilled. The designs evolved rapidly. What failed was not the machine, but the system behind it. I hope you like these details. If yes, then like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends.